Troubleshooting Telnet and SSH. Nothing comes as close to the heart of device management as does Telnet and SSH, your way of managing Cisco devices remotely, right? So I've got my router 1 sitting right here, and sitting right next to it is router 2. Let's try a quick Telnet session over to router 2, who's at 150.1.1.1. Comes up, immediately says password required, none set. Why so? Well, the reason why is because router 2 is configured just with a base configuration, and I have not changed the default. I'm going to do a show run. Let's do section VTY, and you'll see underneath the VTY ports, out of the box, is a single command, login. That means that logins are required to that port, but if there's no password set, obviously, it's saying, well, it's saying there's a password required because it's the login command is there, but none is set. Now, just out of pure curiosity, what if I went under there and did line V2Y 04 no login? What if I negated that default in there? What would happen then? Watch this. Bam. How's that for your security, right? I'm right on. Essentially, when I first teach this in CCNA, people are like, well, no login should mean that no login, you're not allowed to log in because you haven't quite got used to the no command. No negates the requirement of having a login. So obviously, we want that underneath there, and we want to add a password on there of whatever complex password we would have. So simply by putting a password under the VTY lines, we are now able to telnet in and use our device, at least accessing user mode remotely. Now, if you do not set a privilege mode password, it's going to come up and say there's no password set. It's not like you're going to be able to get into privilege mode remotely if there is no password set. It will give Cisco some credit, right? They've got some requirements there. So that's as simple as it is to enable Telnet on our different devices. But who wants Telnet anymore when you can have SSH, right? SSH is now a standard feature on just about every iOS flavor that you can have, because who wants to do clear text communication with any Cisco device, or any device nowadays for that matter, across the internet? So I'm going to go on here and first off define a domain name. I'm going to type in IP domain -name, and we'll just call it cbtnuggets.com. From there, we're going to generate our cryptography keys. You have to have that domain name, otherwise it won't be able to generate the cryptographic keys tied to it. So we'll do crypto key generate RSA. It's going to come up and say, well, what size of crypto key do you want? I'll just do 1024. It's a good standard. It comes up, generates the key, bang. Now you've got your encryption keys available to you. Now I can go under line VTY 0-4, and we can do transport input, and we get to choose what protocols we want. I can do Telnet and SSH, or I could just lock it down and say the only protocols I'm going to allow to communicate to those VTY lines are SSH. I'm going to type in login local because I'm going to use the local user database, because SSH requires a username and password, not just a password like Telnet access. So from there, I'm going to do a username. I'll do Jeremy, password, Cisco. Now, should be able to come down here and do an SSH -L Jeremy at 150.1.1.1. Comes up. There we are. That's enabling SSH on a Cisco device. With Telnet and SSH being so simple, what could possibly go wrong? Well, Of course, IP address not being reachable. Maybe you forgot to define the right transport protocols with that transport input command. Uh, Forgotten or misconfigured login or password. You saw when I had login but no password in there, and then we got the password required none set command. ACL, maybe along the way, blocking port 22, that's our SSH, or port 23, that's our Telnet access into our devices, or maxed out VTY lines. All the reason in the world to lock your VTY lines down with an access list is because people can fill them up all day long. I've been victim of this myself. I've seen people victim of this to where you leave a internet edge router open to the world to where you can telnet from home and manage it and things like that, which feels really cool until somebody from wherever in the world is running a script that just sits there all day long trying to attempt different passwords, and it fills up your VTY lines. And then every time you try to telnet to it remotely, it's like, hey, sorry, the lines are maxed out, you can't get in. And so you actually have to drive in and plug into the console port before you're able to access it. That's a huge reason why you want to use that access class command under the VTY lines to block out who can get there. And then, of course, the correct SSH version and key size used. Version 1, version 2 have different requirements of how large of a key they can have on that RSA key. So you want to make sure that your client is compatible with SSH version 1 or 2, or whichever one's configured on your device. So you can see right here are the verification commands. Show run section VTY, I actually did that one. AAA we'll talk about in the next nugget, but that would be another section you want to explore if you're being denied access to your VTY lines. Is AAA configured correctly? You can verify your usernames that are configured on your device. This will show who's telnetted into your device. This will show your open SSH sessions to other devices, or SSH sessions coming into you. Forgive me. So that is those slew of commands can be used to verify Telnet and SSH sessions to your router. Well, there is Telnet and SSH for you. I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.